And it is true that for many a year, the Whig Party had been playing a dominant, if not a sole role in political leadership in Liberia. It is also true that the time had come in this country where there needed be change. There needed be change. But I would have proposed that any change that did come about would be through an evolutionary process rather than revolutionary process. Okay? But what I saw was sowing seeds of divisiveness amongst our people, by going, this country and Congo and this and that and the other. And to my mind, Liberia, after Vonjima, had gone past all of this. But it was being reintroduced for political expediency. And it hurt our country, sir. And it has hurt it till this day.
But would you disagree that by that time, what the official statistics were showing was that about 3% of the population was accruing accounting for over 60% of the gross domestic income of the country? Don't you think those were factors that weigh more heavily against the party than just pronouncements talking about a country common?
I think it was in 1837 when Andrew Jackson was president of the United States, and he made this statement, he says, to the victor belong the spoils. The spoils system has been in existence, throughout history, regardless of where you are, which country you are, and where you are. You see it present today in Liberia, in countries throughout the world. Now, Liberia has never had, sir, a caste system. We've had a class system. And that class system has been based primarily, fundamentally on education. And as soon as people achieve educational status in this country, they've gone up on the rise. And it continues till this day. Okay? The one time, I will put this in, the one time when the educators failed us was the Igloo government. They failed us because here we were looking at academicians, okay, who for the past 20 years, then to 4, have been crying that we need a change and what have you in our country. Change we needed. But when they were afforded this opportunity, the beginning of the 90s, to lead Liberia forward, what we got from them was excess government, was a lot of corruption also continued. I was here during those years, sir, to subsist in our country. But normally, the people that are in power, they try to ingratiate themselves. You passed all kinds of laws against it. America in 1977 under Jimmy Carter passed the Federal Corrupt Practices Act. They're supposed to curtail a lot of this. It hasn't, not even in the United States. You see a governor the other day in the state of Illinois trying to sell a senatorial seat. So these things, they still persist in the world in which we live. So we can cry for utopia, but we're far away from it.
But if I should take you back on your premise that the problem, well, you said it was a class system, but it's more so on education. Education was a way of bridging the divide, that as soon as a person becomes educated, then he loses that distinction of being a member of a downtrodden, underplaced class. But then I will take you back to the very birth of the Truth Party. Does that, from what you're saying, I get the impression that that obviates the recognition of the divide that existed in Liberian society prior to the birth of the Truth Party. That there were black educated people as well as mulattoes. And we all know that the birth of the Truth Party was based on unfair representation and differentiation and discrimination on the part of mulattoes towards blacks, towards darker skinned Liberians who were also equally educated.
Sir, do you really know the history of the Truth Party? I don't think so from what you're saying. If you know the history of the Truth Party, you'll realize that Edward J. Roy was the first black man to become president of the Republic of Liberia. Before then, the skins were much lighter.
But
And that's a fact.
That's what I'm saying. And this is the reason why the Truth Party was born. Because politics had been dominated all the while by a class of light-skinned Liberians, as opposed to the darker skin. So that's what I'm saying. If then education, you say, was the dividing line, then how come you have black or darker skinned settlers, Liberians, who have been discriminated against on the basis of the color, skin color, rather than on the basis of, and not recognized on the basis of their achievement? It was not until the challenge to that order in 1869 and then 1870 with the election of Roy.